Hello. It's time for this week's new edition of Trump Trolls Trump, the show where one Trump trolls another, but I'm not going to tell you which one of those people I am. You're just going to have to guess. It is week 6 of the Trump regime, and I have a question for you. Have you gotten your backyard chicken yet? Why am I asking you this question? It's a weird question. Are you confused? Well, thankfully, we have the Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, to explain. Take a look.
Well, the Department of Agriculture is now warning that Americans could see the price of eggs spike more than 40%. Here to break it all down for us is our new Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins. Brooke, it's so great to have you on. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Rachel.
Well, I have chickens in my backyard. Sean started that.
Yes.
And yesterday I went out. They just started laying. And yesterday I got 5 eggs. I guess my question, if you could make it just really quick because I'm out of time, is part of the solution more small farms? Because when avian flu hits and you have these giant industrial farms and these chickens, which I don't think the eggs are as good anyway, is part of it just investing in smaller farms, encouraging that?
I think the silver lining in all of this is how do we, in our backyards, we've got chickens too in our backyard, how do we solve for something like this? And people are sort of looking around thinking, wow, well, maybe I could get a chicken in my backyard. And it's awesome. I agree with you.
Where do these people live? My God. Okay, now, first of all, I don't have a lot of time for you to answer the question is usually code for, I know you don't want to answer the question, so I'm going to give you as little time as possible to sound like a fucking idiot. And yet she still managed. Yeah, let's all get chickens. Cool. I'm beginning to think that the motto of the Trump regime should be just suck it up. Because seriously, I live in the city. I'm pretty sure my apartment building won't let me have chickens. And even if it did, what am I going to do? Like, put them in the back hallway with the guy? It's impossible. So the price of eggs is up. Thank goodness we didn't put Vice President Harris in office. The price of eggs is soaring, and that's their solution. Also, just a small detail. The reason the price of eggs is going up is because there is this deadly virus just running rampant through the poultry population. Millions of chickens have had to be culled from their herds. And by the way, not herds, sorry, flocks. Culled means slaughtered. Okay. So, I mean, if I did have the luxury of having a backyard that was big enough in which to raise a flock of chickens, do I really want to risk introducing the bird flu into my backyard? No. These people are wildly irresponsible, but also amusing in a, horrifying way. Before we go further, please hit like and share this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We are pushing to get to 350,000 subscribers, and every little bit helps, so that would be fantastic. As independent media, your support helps us reach more people so we can grow this together. So, as mentioned, the cost of raw eggs is predicted to rise, wow, another 41% in 2025. The price of eggs has already more than doubled since Donald took office. But never fear. Donald is a poultry expert as well. We already know he's an expert in infectious diseases, which we'll get to in a second, but he's also a poultry expert. He has a plan. What's his plan? Well, it's pretty much his plan for anything that goes wrong because of him. Blame Joe Biden. I'm sure that's going to help tremendously with the price of eggs. I think somebody really needs to tell him to get new material, but he won't listen because he can never be wrong. Watch this.
Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control. And we're working hard to get it back down. Secretary, do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job.
Wow. Yeah, those are serious people, aren't they? Is it opposite day? I think it is. Because, by by down, he means up, like astronomically. He doesn't really have the best words, though, so what do we expect? Of course, as has been the case for his, throughout his entire miserable life, Donald's problems are almost always self-inflicted. This week, the Wall Street Journal, which, by the way, is owned by the evil Rupert Murdoch, who helped enable all of this over 40 years ago, said that Donald's tariffs started, quote, the dumbest trade war in history, unquote. And even though some tariffs have been temporarily halted, the markets are reeling. In this Fox State TV clip, let's watch as the self-proclaimed business genius rambles on about Ronald Reagan, of all people, and trade, while the stock market ticker plunges on screen in real time. Play the clip.
I'm a huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he was bad on trade. Very bad on trade. He allowed a lot of people, a lot of businesses to be taken. So I say that with due respect because he was so great on other things, but he was bad on trade. We are setting records right now. Records like nobody has ever seen before. When you have companies like this coming in and almost 40% of their company in one signature is going to be devoted to what he does, which is one of the most important businesses in the world. That's an unbelievable thing. When everybody's going to start doing all of these things.
Well, that's what happens when I feel like I'm repeating myself, but when you're an idiot who knows absolutely nothing about economics and how inflation and the scarcity of goods impacts prices and the market. Also, the stuff that's his fault. Tariffs let me be very clear. Not just tariffs. Unilaterally imposed, unnecessarily imposed, and stupidly imposed. He's starting a unilateral, unnecessary, unprovoked trade war, which does what? It injects uncertainty. You know what hates uncertainty? The market. So none of this is unexpected or surprising. So look, the reason that all of this is happening kind of has nothing to do with anything we can do. Sure, the stock market indicators may look like the EKG of a patient going into cardiac arrest, but this trade war wasn't just started for nothing. There's a real, fundamental, serious reason why this is happening and why Donald Trump felt so convinced of his righteousness in imposing tariffs on Canada. It's all happening because Canada, led by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who's weak, has been taken over by Mexican drug cartels. I'm sorry to break that news to you here. I know it's hard to hear. If you haven't heard, that's because you have the great fortune of never, ever having to listen to the conspiracy theory-ridden psychopath Peter Navarro. Take a look.
What I want to say to every world leader who gets up in arms when all we're asking for is fairness and to have them stop killing our people is, please listen to us. Canada could do a lot more. Canada has been taken over, Brett, by Mexican cartels. They bring up these pill presses and printers and the medicines that they fake. You can't tell the difference.
Oh my God. How does he think that? First of all, how does he know that? I mean, did he get a guided tour the last time he was in Canada? Hey, Mexican drug cartels that are taking over Canada, can I come see your facility? Your pill pressers? What? How do these people withstand the weight of their stupidity? Like, I mean, how does gravity allow them to move ever? Because their ignorance and their just naivety and I just have to say, they're just so stupid. It should weigh them down. But no, they're still roaming free. Speaking of asylums, No, actually, I'm not going to speak of asylums, but I just thought I'd leave that there. So, speaking of our former allies to the north, because of Donald's trade war, Canada is currently reminding the government of the United States about something we, the sane people among us, already know about. You know, fuck around, find out. Just like Donald's followers, he and his regime have very, very quickly slid into the finding out phase of all of this, especially in red states. Thank you, Canada. Very strategic. Red states like Kentucky, Texas, and Tennessee are large producers of bourbon, whiskey, and spirits. Oh, well. Watch this report from CTV News. Play the clip.
Clearing shelves, boxing up all American products at LCBOs across the province.
Fight fire with fire.
All the product will be stored until tariffs come off, encouraging people to instead buy Canadian, as the premier lobs a financial punch at the U.S.
We're the largest purchaser of bourbon in the world for Kentucky bourbon manufacturers. They're done. They're gone.
I believe in buying Ontario wine. There's some really good Ontario wines that people haven't discovered yet.
Choosing local options is exactly what the Ontario Restaurant, Hotel and Motel Association is recommending.
You know, these tariffs are a weapon to weaken our economy and our businesses and our livelihoods. And we should do our part in standing up.
Every year, the LCBO sells nearly $1 billion worth of U.S. wine, beer, cider, seltzers, and spirits.
Going back to Canadian products is not going to be the same thing, but we just got to stick together.
I feel it's the right thing to do. I mean, these tariffs are unwarranted by the U.S. You know, I mean, I think it's a fair thing fair retaliatory measure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, I want stores in blue states to start doing the same thing. Please, please. So easy. And also, I would suggest to Canada that never stop doing this until Donald and the Trump regime are out of office, because you know they're going to continue fucking around with you. And I think it's incumbent upon you to help them keep finding out. Just a quick thing about Canadian wine. I'm sure it's lovely, but Italian and French wine, also amazing. So another way to get around the whole American wine thing. All right. I want to get serious for a second. In case you didn't think I was not being serious. This is sublime, because it's a perfect mix of Donald's abject stupidity, his complete inability to admit that he's wrong ever, and his spectacular ability to double down on the thing about which he's wrong. In Donald's address to a joint session of Congress this week, he attempted to praise fledgling dictator Elon Musk's budget-cutting efforts through DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, you know, the illegal, unconstitutional, not confirmed by Congress agency that's also kind of fictional and is just destroying us. One of those cost-cutting measures he highlighted, because he's so proud of it apparently, caused a lot of people to laugh in his face, because what he said was so abjectly stupid that nobody in that room, even the most sycophantic of the fascists, could believe Donald wasn't kidding. Play the clip.
$8 million for making mice transgender. This is real.
Will it shock you to learn that Donald is wrong? Yeah, day ending why, all that. So the research he's referring to involved the use of transgenic mice. These are rodents that are genetically modified for the purposes of human disease studies. This has absolutely nothing to do with research on gender identity. But see, this is what happens when you are so viciously cruel that you take your war against DEI initiatives, and remember, that stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, heaven forfend, that you end up making mistakes like that. For example, just the last day or two, they erased all research, not erased, but like all mentions in national databases of the plane called the Enola Gay which is the plane that dropped the atomic bomb on Japan. It was erased because the word gay was in the name of the plane. Like, that's how out of control these people are. But you guys know that here at Mary Trump Media, it is extremely important to us that we get our facts right. And there is some evidence, some photographic evidence, in fact, that what Donald was talking about in terms of transgender mice research may actually be true. Now, I'm not saying one way or the other yet because we want to vet our sources very carefully before we come to any conclusions. But we did come across this image, and if it does in fact turn out to be valid and accurate, I owe somebody an apology. I will indeed apologize to the mice. But whether it's true or not, that mouse is fabulous. So, I'll leave it to you to decide, but we'll keep you posted. Okay. Have you ever heard Donald say that things aren't fair? Of course you have, because he says it like 500 times a day because he's such a poor little aggrieved, privileged person. Before his speech on Tuesday, there was a lot of anticipation among the fascist Republicans. Yes. Representative Dan Muser of Pennsylvania was especially looking forward to Donald's positive message. Yeah, well, you're still waiting, aren't you? And he explained to Newsmax that he thought the unfair attacks on Elon Musk were just so very, very unfair. Let's watch.
And I got to tell you, those comments about Elon Musk going back to Africa, I mean, frankly, white or black, Martin Luther King is rolling in his grave when he hears things like that, and somehow they don't get it, but most of America does. It's outrageous.
Yeah, and oh, I'm so outraged. Yeah, well, okay. People like you have been telling Black Americans to go back to Africa for centuries, so shut the fuck up, first of all. And secondly, this guy is destroying your government too. So the idea that anything that's happening to Elon Musk is unfair is just absurd on its face. Partially or largely because he's doing all of these horrible things on purpose. What, we're just supposed to sit by and say, well, he's an unelected, unconfirmed, unvetted guy who didn't have to go through any background check. So I guess we're just going to have to let him destroy us. No, Elon Musk, please go back to Africa. I have other suggestions too, but we'll get there in a minute. Near the beginning of his speech, Donald once again demanded that the government should be of, by, and for the people. Well, of course he didn't. That's not what he believes. And it's not what he said, because he's never read Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. He's never read anything, so that's kind of goes without saying. Here's what he did say. Play the clip.
It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over.
I had to watch that whole thing with friend and fellow Nerdavenger Brian Karam, and both of us laughed out loud when Donald said that. Because, well, let's see, why did we find that funny? Because the guy standing to that rousing round of applause is an unelected bureaucrat tasked with destroying our federal government. So during a subcommittee on Constitution and Limited Government hearing this week, Republican Arizona Representative Andy Biggs tried to make fun of the Democrats' response to Donald during his speech to Congress. Well, yeah, I've done that too, but probably in a very, not made fun of, but criticized, and probably in a very different and hopefully more substantive way. But Jamie Raskin, who is a kick-ass Democratic representative, was having none of it. Watch.
Like what I saw on the floor of the House last night. I mean, I love the little popsicle sticks with the little construction paper signs. Those are pretty special.
Trying to spend less money.
And yeah, save on money. I appreciate you didn't want to be extravagant. That I think I'm going to draw a response here, but that's really what we saw on display last night. Sophomoric, childish, not even sophomoric, more juvenile than that. Attempts to disrupt the joint speech. Now yield back. Well, I'm waiting for the...
Gentleman yields back. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you kindly, Mr. Chairman. Let me start with the digression to address my friend from Arizona. First of all, I'm delighted that we were able to show you what a nonviolent protest looks like, and I appreciate the fact that you praise people for bringing signs and popsicle sticks rather than steel pipes and Confederate battle flags and Trump flags to beat people up.
Yeah, very excellent point. Yes, excellent point. And I do believe that it is important to understand and remember that that speech took place at the scene of the crime that took place on January 6, 2021, and the crime that Donald and 1,500 people who were arrested, charged, tried, and convicted, and every single sitting member of Congress who planned it and went along with it have now gotten away with. Absolutely. We need to point that out. But, sorry guys, I'm not giving the Democrats a pass on this one. Andy Biggs is a bigot and a horrible person. And the fact that that's what he's focusing on is also part of the problem. That he saw nothing wrong at all with what Donald had to say or how his fascist party behaved in that formerly hallowed hall. But, you know, we still need to get our acts together too. But I always appreciate Jamie Raskin, and that was a powerful and necessary reminder. Okay, so maybe you've heard that 2 astronauts have been stuck on the International Space Station for the last 9 months. That sounds difficult, especially when you consider that initially they were only expected to be up there for about a week. 9 months is a much longer time than that. However, the Starliner encountered significant issues on its journey to the station, leading NASA to deem it too risky to carry passengers. Thankfully, though, Donald has thoughts on bringing them home. Watch this.
We love you, and we're coming up to get you, and you shouldn't have been up there so long. The most incompetent president in our history has allowed that to happen to you. But this president won't let it happen. We're going to get them out. We're coming up to get you. I've authorized Elon. I said, can you get them out? Because, you know, they've been left up there. I hope they like each other. But they've been, maybe they'll love each other. I don't know. But they've been left up there. Think of it. And I see the woman with the wild hair, good solid head of hair she's got. There's no kidding. There's no games with her hair. But, and you know, there's a danger up there, too. They can have some failures up there that would be very bad.
Wow. Well, I'm pretty sure they don't want to come back anymore. So there's that. But, like, just the idea that anybody would think, yeah, they've just been left there. We just forgot about them. Oh, wait, who? Oh, yeah. Oh, they're still up there. I just thought that, you know, they went on vacation or something. What? Like, okay. So he can't even be counted on to behave with basic human decency about something like that. Okay, first of all. And secondly, nice bit of sexism, Donald. That was a nice touch. Just can't help yourself, can you? I literally cannot think of any person on the planet I would want less involved in my space rescue. I don't know about you guys, but are you having any inject yourself with bleach flashbacks? Because I am. Wow. Well, we have a new way to end Trump trolls Trump. It's time that we announce this week's Trump trolls Trump fail of the week. Is that a thing? Yes, it is, because we say it is. So I promise you that, because you're probably thinking, how could you possibly decide? Well, you know, it's also really, really hard deciding what to leave out of this episode because there are so many ways to troll these people. But yeah, it was really exceedingly difficult to narrow it down to one event. But we do have a winner, and it is Elon Musk. And no, just in case you think we're cheating, it's not because of the speed and comprehensiveness with which he's destroying our federal government. Because if that were the case, if those were the criteria, he'd win every week, and that just doesn't seem fair. We want to spread the wealth here. He's the winner, which is to say loser, obviously, because of an incident that he described as a, quote, rapid, unscheduled disassembly, unquote. All right, let's think about that for a second. Rapid, unscheduled disassembly as opposed to a rapid scheduled disassembly? I mean, is that like building the plane as you're flying it, except then dismantling the plane as you're flying it and then falling out of the sky? I don't know. I mean, what I actually think it is, I think what a rapid, unscheduled disassembly is a fucking explosion is what it is. Because the rocket, it blew up. Take a look.
Tonight, that stunning video over the Atlantic Ocean, the SpaceX Starship breaking up upon re-entry after blasting off from the SpaceX Starbase in South Texas. Debris seen streaking across the sky over the waters off the coast of Florida, the wreckage splashing into the ocean. This video showing debris ablaze near the Bahamas. Major Florida airports from Orlando to Miami issuing ground stops due to the debris. The initial liftoff a success of the 8th test flight of the Starship mission with no one on board. Just about 9 minutes into the flight, Mission Control announcing they lost contact with the Starship. Video showing it spinning out of control. It comes after the FAA required Starship to perform a mishap investigation into the mid-flight failure of the last Starship rocket back in January. Debris shooting across the sky above the Caribbean, crashing down back to Earth.
Space vehicle mishap. A debris response area has been activated.
The January incident also causing problems with air travel. Some pilots confused mid-air.
It's got a major streak going from at least 60 miles with all these different colors. Just curious, it looked like it was coming towards us.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm very relieved that it exploded over the ocean and not the Gulf of Mexico. Otherwise, that poor reporter might have been blackballed for life, if you actually called the Gulf of Mexico what it is. Dangerous. Also, is that efficient? I mean, 4 Florida airports were halted, or air traffic at 4 Florida airports was halted because of that explosion. And if you think that, well, it could have been more. So I guess that's efficient. Would have been more efficient, of course, if the thing hadn't rapidly disassembled in midair. But what do I know? However, I think he's going to get the hang of it eventually. I really do. And I think that he should, take one of the next rockets and go to Mars because Mars needs him. I hear that Mars has been in touch. Mars is apparently, it has been I don't know we don't know if it's ever been populated. I like to believe in Ray Bradbury's vision of Mars personally. But there's literally no evidence. There may have been life. There may have been water at some point, but I'm pretty sure it's thinly populated right now. So there is a dearth we're hearing from Mars of complete and utter fucking morons. And Elon Musk, they want you. Have a safe flight.